Hello everyone and welcome to another World of Warcraft guide with your host Rurikhan. So today we're going to be going over Blackrock Caverns. I'm going to be making a series that's going to be covering tanking with a warrior throughout all the heroic instances. Now in this particular instance there's not all that much need for CC, and unfortunately I even got a very low CC group. This is a random pug. The only thing specific in here is that I specifically requested for Blackrock Caverns because I want to start at the first instance, and I'm going to be running down all of them just to show you every single pull, how every single boss works, and the stuff that you can do in basically each of the sections of these new heroic dungeons. So for starters here, I'm just basically chain pulling at the moment because my warrior actually has the gear to do it. I'm going to be giving you guides on how to use proper CC later on as well, but for these particular packs in this instance you really shouldn't need all that much CC to begin with, and if you do need, basically there will be a guide later on to tell you guys what you need to do in order to work with CC in case you need to do it. So for now basically what I'm doing is I'm chain pulling everything, and as a warrior basically what you gotta do to get this going is you charge in, you go for Rend, and then you go for Thunderclap, unless it's a single target, but I mostly always pull several targets. As you can see there, I taunted off that pack, and then I rended the mob that I was tanking, which what that does is basically I'm going to try and make use of the Blood and Thunder talent. So what it does is basically I spread Rend onto one target, and then I use Thunderclap, and what it does is spreads Rend onto all the other targets, and obviously helps you maintain threat on everything. Now it actually has been quite a while since I've tanked on my warrior because I've been working a lot on my paladin due to raiding purposes, but it's really good to be back at my warrior because it's where I mostly feel at home, and basically I've been waiting for a long time to make videos on my warrior. I just really had some work to do with my paladin. I'll explain all that later on. So basically what you want to do in this boss is first make sure that there are no adds close to him when you pull him, which as you could see I cleared the whole area just to make sure that we wouldn't aggro additional packs, because as you pull him he's going to make this ability which is a call for help, and basically any pack that's within a certain range of the boss is going to aggro and attack your group as well. Now that's not really very troublesome because once I pulled this boss and 2 packs aggroed and we were still able to do it, but you kind of want to pay attention to that. So one of the abilities that the boss usually makes you've already seen right now, which is the Quake ability. So the Quake ability will summon these adds that you see here, and what you want to do is you want to get them all. Now in this particular group that's really problematic because as you can see most of my DPSers are casters, which means that the adds are going to be going all over the place. So what you want to do is you want to put Rend on the boss and then take the boss closer to each of the adds, even if you need to use charge or whatever, and then spam Thunderclap so that you spread the blood of Rend onto every single mob, and that will basically give you solid threat. After that you want to position the mobs in front of you for a shockwave. Now let's speak about the other ability this boss uses. From time to time this boss will cast Chains of Woe. It's not actually time to time, it's at certain percentages of life. And what you want to do when you get Chains of Woe is immediately target the chains that you will see in the middle, like I did there. And after you guys break the chains, get away from the boss, because the boss is going to make an AoE cleave that will insta-gib just about anyone. So these are all the abilities this boss makes. Quake that spawns adds, which as you can see, Rend boss, Thunderclap every add, and then Shockwave them in front of you. After that just keep on going with your normal Thunderclap, Cleave. I'm also going to be making a macros guide for you guys so that you guys know how do I do every single ability, which keybinds do I use for more practicality and stuff like that. That's going to be in a future video as well. For now let's stick to the dungeon. As you can see that boss is quite simple. You destroy the Chains of Woe and after that you get away from him. That's the main ability. The other thing, the adds, just AoE tank them, pretty easy. When you get to this section, just wait for this big ol' Raz dude to just destroy everything, because he basically will. There's no need for you to engage any of the mobs. As you see there, I actually aggroed a pack back there because I was moving ahead of the guy. You just have to wait if that happens, and the guy will catch up to the pack and just completely obliterate them. Pretty simple stuff. And this actually does get boring after a while because it takes a bit of time killing everything, but still you have to wait. There's no chance that you can kill 3 of those big guys at the same time. Or maybe there is a chance, but it's gonna be hard as hell and extremely cooldown intensive. So next up we have another pack of casters, and what you want to do is basically you want to mark a skull. I'm also going to teach you in future videos how to mark, because I know that a lot of people have asked me that in my own channel in the past. So basically you want to mark up a skull. What I usually do is I keybind the markings. I'll show you how to do that in the future video. And mark a skull. Why? Because it's going to be the target where you have the most aggro, so that people know where they can nuke. It's always useful to have at least one skull marked when you're in a pug, so that people don't over aggro by chance. Anyways, it's kind of hard for someone to over aggro on my warrior. The only person that actually can do that is probably Quickie, but whatever. If you guys hear me speak about names that you've never heard before, don't worry, it will come in future videos. Don't worry about that. Now, these particular mobs have one ability that you have to interrupt, which is Shadow Strike. And on top of that, they also make a real nasty ability, which is Gravity Strike or something like that, before they cast Shadow Strike, which really puts your HP really low. But don't panic. There's usually no need to pop cooldowns, because the cooldown in between the cooldown between the ability itself, which means in between how many times he does the ability, is more than enough for the healer to get you back up. So there's no troubles there. I usually go through the left here to avoid one pack that's up on the right, but in case you're scavenging for reputation, you might want to take the route on the right side, in which case you will have a similar pack to this one before engaging another one of those big mobs. But I usually just go to the left side here and just nuke these guys. In case you need to, you might use CC on this pack. I usually don't. I don't really care anymore, because I'm at 350 item level, I believe, which is more than enough to tank through this. Now we're going to be getting ready for the next boss, and what the next boss does is basically you have 3 ads. Let's see if I turn the camera there. Oh yeah, be very mindful of your healer's mana when you're doing tanking like the way I'm doing, because it's very mana intensive and he will go very frequently. When you get here to the left, you don't want to engage the boss right away, because there's always the risk of you aggroing the mob that's going to be patrolling the ramp that you're seeing now. So you want to make sure and take out that particular mob before you engage the boss. It's one of those things that it's just in case, but the more wipes you can avoid, the better. So, getting ready to take on this guy, again, it's the same stuff. You just have to interrupt Shadow Strike. At the same time, I'm also discussing the strategy of the boss, which I will be explaining in a really short moment now. But basically, I'm assigning people to each of the ads that this boss has. This boss has 3 ads, and these 3 ads are actually very dangerous if you don't handle the encounter properly. In fact, there's an achievement for doing this encounter in a very, very wrong way. I have done that achievement on my paladin. I haven't done it on my warrior yet. But anyways, I'm discussing the strategy with them, and what you got to do is, the boss is the guy on the upper, is the girl actually, on the upper left corner, and she has 3 ads on her. And each of those 3 ads is going to have a channeled beam onto him. And basically what I'm doing is I'm assigning each of these persons to the beam. And in case you're not familiar with the beam mechanic, I'm not sure if anyone, if you guys have already done Nether Spite, but basically it's very, very similar, as you will see. So you will engage the boss, and after you assign each of these persons onto an ad, that is. So basically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be receiving that beam in place of the ad. What does the beam do? The beam gives you a stacking debuff that will go all the way up to 100. If you let the stacking debuff reach 100, you will transform into one of those big guys that make shadow strikes, and you will be mind controlled, and you will be nuking the crap out of your party. So why do I want people taking these beams? Because if they don't take the beams, the ads will be the ones transforming. So how do we handle that? So the mechanic is actually quite simple. You get on the beam, whoever is assigned onto this beam, it has to be a ranged person, a healer, or a tank. Because melee need to be on top of the boss, and if they're not on top of the boss, it's a huge issue. So what they do is they get the beam and they let the debuff stack up to 80 stacks. Once they get to 80 stacks, they get the hell out of there and let the beam go on to the ad. So what this does is you leave the beam before you get 100 stacks so that you don't transform yourself, and then let the beam channel onto the ad for a little while. And then you wait for the debuff to go away, because the debuff eventually goes away, and you go back onto the beam. Because if you let the beam reach 100 stacks on the ad transforms. If you let the beam reach 100 stacks on you, you transform, and whoever transforms is going to kill your entire party. It just makes a crap ton of damage to tank the boss, plus one of those huge ads. So like I said, the whole point here is just managing the beams. So as long as you got people that know to take a beam, take it up to 80 stacks, and then leave the beam, and then wait for the debuff to drop and go back on the beam. This is all they have to do. And basically, once you do this, the encounter basically becomes a tank and spank. It's really, really simple. So as you could see there, no challenge whatsoever. And now again, back on the trash. I actually miss an ability that I usually have on my paladin, which is the Avenger's Shield, because it silences casters, and they immediately are forced to come to me. They can't even shoot from afar, they just have to go up to me in melee range, and at that point everything is fine, because as you all know, when you're tanking you need to have stuff at melee range, otherwise it just doesn't work. Now, in case you actually needed to do CC in this particular group, what you would have needed to make was assign a mind control onto the priest, and then a fear to the warlock, and assign a root to the druid, because those are the forms of CC you could be using here. But since I'm not really using CC, I'm just gonna AoE and tear the crap out of these guys down. In order to AoE this with solid threat, what you gotta do is charge in, rend, thunderclap, that will spread rend onto everyone, then take 2 steps back, shockwave, which will give you tons and tons and tons of threat, and will also stun them, which will also gives you tons and tons of avoidance, because, I mean, it doesn't technically give you avoidance, but since they're not hitting you, it's like you're 100% missable for a few seconds, because they can't do anything. So, to me, that's one of the best forms of avoidance possible. And now here you see me use the Heroic Leap. It's mostly just for fun, but it also gives you quite solid threat if you can jump on top of something in defensive stance and give 5k onto everything. It's pretty damn decent. So when you're done with that, obviously you want to go again for your Rend, Thunderclap, Cleave, Shockwave, all your AoE stuff to tank packs like what I'm doing now. And also, since you have casters in here, you probably just noticed there I used Spell Reflect, which is also quite useful when you have casters, because it will reflect spells back onto them, and it's a ton of damage that you're not going to be taking, and trust me, your healer is going to thank you for it. Okay, so now we have another one of these evolved Twilight Zealot guys, which, like I said, they make the Gravity Strike, and that's about the only real dangerous ability that they make. Shadow Strike needs to be interrupted. You can use your Shield Bash for that, or in case you're a Paladin, because they still don't have Rebuke at this point, you can ask someone else in your party to do it, like, let's say in this case, the most indicated person would be the Druid to interrupt that spell. So when you're done with this guy, you're going to have another small scene with Raz. Actually, I believe there's one more Evolved Zealot. Yeah, you have to kill this Evolved Zealot again. Like I said, Evolved Zealots are pretty simple to deal with if you just don't panic. And as always, be very mindful of your healer's mana. I'm actually pushing the limits a bit here, but I have every single cooldown, and as you can see, I even have my cursor right on top of Last Stand, just in case anything goes wrong. If I feel the healer isn't keeping up, I will just pop Last Stand, Enrage Regeneration, and Shield Wall, and that will basically allow me to solo tank this guy without receiving any heals for a minute. Now I'm going to be telling the healer to drink because we now have another sequence with good old Raz, which is going to come in here and just cleave the crap out of all these mobs, completely cleaving. But it is quite boring once you've done this stuff a lot of times, and trust me, I've ran Blackrock Caverns far more times than I'd care to mention, to be honest. Let me just grab a quick drink of tea here because I'm feeling a bit sick lately. Because it's cold as hell in Portugal these days. So Raz once again completely cleaves the crap out of all those evolved zealots that were in your path, and now here you gotta be really careful with the pull, because I just went in and pulled because I knew exactly where the boss was, but you gotta be very mindful when you pull these mobs, because if you pull a mob that's passing a little bit close to the boss, you take the chance of pulling the boss as well, and that's going to be a wipe fest and a whine fest, as you know, because most pug groups will immediately whine, oh, noob tank, oh, blah 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 blah, whatever. So what you want to do is you want to pull him, and then you want to pull him really all the way back. And you might be wondering to yourself, why exactly are you pulling so far away back? Because you see those silvery looking things there. Basically what this mob does is it's going to melt them, and they become basically a flame oozling type of thing, which makes a crap ton of damage, and you really don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to pull the conflagration elemental, which is the guy I'm going to be pulling now. You want to pull him as farther away as possible so that you don't get any of those Quicksilver adds. Because if you get Quicksilver adds, it's going to be a pain in the ass for your healer, and as usual you want to make it as easy as possible for your healer. Now these guys aren't really probably that much used to doing this instance because they were nuking right at start. They were nuking right at start and basically forcing me to lose aggro and not being able to pull as back as I would like to. However, the druid went back there and slowed down the Quicksilvers, which is actually an awesome thing to do because they will return back to their silvery state instead of being affected by the conflagration's fire. Now, regarding this particular boss, this boss has a very neat mechanic that I enjoy, which is the fact that you can't actually damage this boss because he has like this super duper awesome armor that reduces his damage taken by 90%. And the way to deal with that 90% damage reduction is basically passing the boss through that fiery circle you see there in the middle. So the problem with that is obviously there's always a drawback. Basically, when you pass him through the circle, he gains a debuff, and that debuff actually allows your DPSers to make damage on him. However, as you could see, by passing through the circle, he makes massive AoE damage onto your whole party. So herein lies the problem. Each time you pass him through the circle, he causes AoE damage on everyone. So first thing you gotta do is quick passes. You always gotta pass through the circle quickly so that he gets the least number of stacks possible. Because the more stacks he gets, the more damage he's going to be making onto your whole party, and you don't want to overstress your healer when there's actually no need for it. Now you have to monitor this specific debuff, which basically is the debuff that allows your DPS to nuke him down. And why is this important? Because if this debuff drops, adds will spawn, and if adds spawn, they have to be actually tanked by the DPS, because the DPS has to take the adds outside the fire circle you see here, so that you don't get fire on the ground near the boss, because that will also cause the boss to make AoE damage. So it just makes tanking a whole lot harder if you kill adds on top of the boss. However, the technique we're using is actually quite different, which is basically keep the stacks up at all times, so no adds will spawn. However, there's added pressure on the healer because the boss makes more damage and he makes more AoE damage each time I take him through the fire stuff. As you can see, however, it was pretty easily handled by our healer, and I don't really believe that he's all that uber geared. He's got some heroic gear, but not super duper, so basically it's quite easy to do. What you gotta do is basically try to get the boss to receive as least stacks as possible so that your group isn't too much pressured by the AoE damage that the boss makes. But always, the most important thing ever if you're using this tactic is never let the debuff drop. Because if the debuff drop at a number of stacks, like say 6, 7, it's almost certain it's a guarantee wipe. It's a guaranteed wipe, so whatever. So at this point they actually made a really smart-ass regard about my weapon, because as you can see in this particular character, my weapon looks like a rolling pin. This is because this is actually the best mace I've been able to acquire thus far. It's an heroic mace. It drops out of Cookie in the Dead Mines, and basically it's a pretty decent tanking mace. And the reason why I want a tanking mace is because, being a dwarf, I actually get 3 raw expertise, not 3 expertise rating. I get 3 raw expertise just for having a mace. And so since they were making fun of it, I said, well, maybe you like this weapon better, and yanked out my Thunder Fury, which it is to this date, in my opinion, the best looking weapon in the game. It's just completely made of awesome. But obviously I can't use it to tank because its stats still haven't been upgraded to today's standards. So basically, even though it's quite a neat party trick to pull out on people, like, whoa, check out my Thunder Fury, and they'll be like, yay, legendary, awesome weapon. But it's actually quite pointless to have when it comes to the tanking game at this point in time. In fact, I wish Blizzard would make an updated version of that sword, because god damn it, that sword is awesome. Now, for this particular trash pack, as you might notice, everybody is stacking up. Why? Because this pack makes a meteor strike, as you could tell by the meteor falling. And that meteor strike's damage is split up by everyone that's in range. So what happens is it makes a really big punch, but if it's split up among everyone, it's a really small hit. However, if someone is completely far away from the mob, and the mob happens to meteor strike them, they can just be one-shotted. Now, at this particular point in time, I don't think that they can be one-shotted, but they can be like sub 20% life in one hit. So you really want to avoid that stuff. Now, here, as you might have noticed, I'm actually using some CC just because I have a Warlock. I might as well make use of Banish because it's just really useful, and you don't have to stop making AoE in order to have a good Banish. So yeah, I told the Warlock to banish some stuff during these pulls. It also makes it more interesting when you use CC, in my opinion. I'm not the kind of guy that actually enjoys going around and AoE tanking everything, even though I could. But I don't really enjoy it as much. I enjoy using CC because it makes it more interesting. In fact, I have this discussion all the time with another tank from my guild. And both of us, we find it interesting to use CC because, well, it's basically, it prepares you better for raids. Because, I mean, you're not going to be AoE tanking the trash in Bastion of Twilight. And if you happen to try doing that in Bastion of Twilight, I would like to watch it because it's going to be really damn fun watching you just cream your entire raid because you want to go ahead and AoE tank. So anyway, it's interesting, the use of CC, and I really enjoy the reintroduction of CC because, let's face it, Wrath of the Lich King heroics were boring. They were boring, and they weren't hard, and they weren't challenging at all. They were just basically face rolls. I mean, you could carry people that would make 1k DPS through a Wrath of the Lich King heroic. In fact, by the end of Wrath of the Lich King, I was usually the top DPSer in my groups because I would be doing randoms all the time, and people in randoms most of the times don't know how to play. At least they didn't used to know how to play in Wrath of the Lich King. And I really like the fact that Blizzard now kind of told people, no, that's not how it's going to work. You actually have to know your classes, or you're going to suck ass. That's just the way it is, and I can appreciate that because it actually rewards the more skilled players, in my opinion. So before this boss, I usually like to pull the trash pack of the 2 big elementals because I usually tank the boss outside the room, actually, and just have the CCers CC the mobs inside, and I will tank the boss outside. And this patrol usually gets dangerously close to where I might be tanking the boss due to fears or whatever. So I like to take them out before going after the boss. And again, this is the pack that makes the meteor strikes, so like I said previously, stack up. Now these neat little mechanics like the meteor strike, it's actually something that makes, again, heroics more entertaining. Now, as you could see there, you had 2 shots of meteor strike. If it happened to be 2 shots on the same person, and that person was away from these mobs, that person would be dead. Period. And that's something that Blizzard needs to do more. They need to kill people. This sounds so wrong on so many levels. But yeah, they need to kill people. They need to just go outside, grab a knife, and slit someone's throat. No, they need to kill players, because a lot of players that came into the World of Warcraft experience in Wrath of the Lich King, they're still relatively new to the game, in my opinion, because they don't know what CC is. They don't know that there actually are mechanics in this game that are meant to kill you. And they just try to brute force through it like, oh, I just need better gear, or I just need better of this, and I don't actually need to learn how this works. No, I just need better something. No, you have to learn the mechanics now. And that's something I really enjoyed. Now, for this particular boss, there's several ways of going around it. You can either kill the 3 dogs and then the big guy, or you can CC them all and then kill the big guy, or you can kill off any number of dogs as you wish and keep any number of dogs CC'd as you wish and then kill the big guy. But everything ends up with killing the big guy. So what I was planning on doing for this particular boss in this particular group, I was planning on killing off the dogs one by one and then killing the big one. However, they're going to be telling me that they're comfortable with keeping 2 of the dogs CC'd. At which point I'm like, well, great, that just makes it faster. We kill the skull and then we kill the big guy. However, we're going to be having a problem here, which is actually going to be pretty amusing. So, as you can see, the 2 CCs that I have is a druid and a warlock. So the warlock CC for this dog is fear, right? And the druid CC for this dog is sleep. So the druid is going to sleep one dog, and the warlock is going to fear the other, and we're going to nuke the 3rd dog and then nuke the big dog. However, stuff doesn't actually go as planned. Now, as you can see, the diamond is supposed to be the feared ad. So I'm pulling everything back to give my CCers time to react to the pull and perform their CCs. Now, as you can see, that's not happening, and the diamond keeps getting loose. Why is it getting loose, though? And I'm going to explain you. It's getting loose because the warlock's pet is basically hitting his own CC target. So basically the warlock is fearing and the pet is breaking the fear immediately, which is actually quite funny when you think about it, because that imp is basically sabotaging him. So at this point I'm just running around and going like, okay, I gotta keep using my single target threat abilities not to break the CC on the dog. But I really want to use my big nukes like Revenge. Revenge is one of my main abilities as a tank, and it actually hits 2 targets. So if the dog is close, I can't use Revenge without hitting him. So at this point in time, I'm not using Revenge. If you notice the buttons that I'm clicking, it's actually Devastate and Shield Slam and Heroic Strike. However, it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep threat on Beauty without using Revenge, which is the main threat ability. So basically what I'm going to be doing now is basically decide, okay, Warlock, you had your shot, you didn't make it, so I'm going to be killing your CC target because I've had enough of the risk that we're taking just to keep this one mob CC'd. I mean, it's ridiculous. Can you see how many times I went back and forth and back and forth, back and forth to try and allow the Warlock to CC his target, and he wasn't able to. In fact, right now I was forced to pop all my cooldowns, and I'm just going to say to everyone, kill it. Nuke it down, kill it, and just be done with it. So basically, he wasn't able to CC it in time, and I killed it. Like I said, the problem here was that he feared it, and his pet was breaking it non-stop. So for all you warlocks out there, here's a professional tip. When you're fearing something, make sure that your ad is not attacking it. And I know that this is actually a mechanic in the game that Blizzard should have implemented. They should have made pets automatically not attack feared targets, but they do at the moment, so it's a pain in the ass, but you actually have to micromanage that aspect of your pet. But anyways, we still got the boss down, even though we had some pretty close call there. The healer kind of pulled it through for us, took one for the team, and was able to bring us all to safe shore. So we're going to be killing off this boss basically and getting ready for the next boss, which is actually which we also have an interesting attempt in, which is pretty funny. So we kill off the boss, and now I'm going to jump cut here because the healer basically had to go and pick up a pizza or something, and we were stalled here for quite a few minutes, and you guys don't have to sit through that. So skipping now, and there we go. This is the next pack. You can skip the pack that's on the left there. There's no need to actually kill it because there's enough room for you to kill the boss by just killing off this pack here. As you could see there, the standard pull that I'm doing, charge, rend, thunderclap, cleave, keep everything on me, and basically keep on aggroing everything. I'm also going to be showing for all you tanks out there the add-ons that I'm going to be using in a future video. I'm going to be showing that because I know that a lot of people want to know the add-ons that I'm using, which is pretty fair because I mean I'm doing guides and people expect to be able to configure their stuff like I have, so it's fair enough. Now we're actually just finishing off this pack and getting ready for the boss, and at this point the priest actually tells me that he wants to be the one handling the shadow ads. So this boss is a pretty simple one. The only tricky part to this boss is that he has 3 shadow ads. Now these ads can be tanked, but you don't want to tank them because they will channel a spell onto you which will reduce the healing you receive up to 99%, I think, at 4 stacks of their debuff. So the priest is telling me that he's going to be the one handling the ads, and I'm like, okay, cool. And by the way I was looking at it, it pretty much seemed that the healer wanted to do the achievement for this boss, which is to prevent any one person to reach more than 4 stacks of that healing debuff thing that I told you about. So as you could see, the priest there is running around with the ads, making sure that he doesn't get more than 4 debuffs. I actually already have this achievement on my warrior, but for the sake of common courtesy, I'm going to be trying and help them out with the achievement as much as I can by not taking stacks myself. So as you can see, he's kiting the ads, and that's what you want to have. If you can have a dedicated kiter for the ads, it's good. If you can't, what you got to do is basically not take aggro on them. Let someone else take aggro on those ads and let that person deal with it. Basically, that's the way it is. But obviously you want to announce before you pull the boss. When that's the case, you want to make sure that you announce that you're going to be not taking aggro on the ads for each person to move away and kite the ads if they get them. So as you could see there, I actually have an ad on me, and I'm trying really hard with all my abilities, with charge, intervene, heroic leap, to keep the stacks from reaching 4, because I'm trying to help out the healer get his achievement. And as you can see there, I almost had it 3, almost got to 4, but no, I was able to kite it away. But the boss is just knocking me down consistently and slowing me down, and I'm charging into other mobs to get rid of it, but eventually I get the 4 stacks and I'm just like, okay, forget about it. There's actually no more point to doing it because I've already got 4 stacks, so you're not going to get the achievement. I'm sorry. But I just couldn't really do it because I got knocked back and slowed and whatever. So at this point I just said, okay, so just kill it. It's kind of pointless to do the achievement now. And I'm actually just kiting so that I don't get the healing debuff and the healer is able to still heal me. Because you still have to kite it when you get the debuff, otherwise you will get 99% healing reduction, which basically makes you unhealable. So you want to be sure to stay away from those ads. And this is where I really love my warrior. The mobility that I get with heroic leap, intervene, charge. I can just move all over the map almost instantly. So that's the end of this particular heroic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and in case you guys didn't know, I'm going to be joining up with TGN, so you're going to be seeing a lot more content from me in this channel. And yeah, leave us your feedback and stuff on the comments below, so that we all know that we're going in the right or in the wrong direction. Also, make sure to press the like or dislike button so that we know if we're doing things right or wrong. What's important is that you leave your opinion. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one right here on TGN World of Warcraft.